Welcome to our next lesson. This lesson is on measuring line segments. And for this we need to remember we can use the properties of a square to find its area or its side length. So the key here is to remember when we're looking to find the area of a square, let's say this one on the right here, that the side lengths are both the same size. So the formula would be length times length. And this we could also write as L squared. And if we were trying to find the side length, we would need to take the square root of the area. So the area inside of this square, we take the square root of the area, and that gives us your side length. So we can extend this knowledge and use it to help us find the length of a line segment when we're looking at it on graph paper. So let's use an example here. So we're going to look at this line segment. It's line segment PQ. And it's at an angle right now. And if I wanted to find the length of that line segment, it's a little bit hard to find. So what I can do is use a ruler to make this into a square. And then I can take this square and I can break it into some smaller shapes inside of it. So I can take the inside portion here and make it into 4 smaller triangles, and that also makes the inside of it a square. Now notice here there are actually 4 triangles inside of that square and then 1 smaller square. And this is actually some information that I can use to find the total area of that square. And once I know the area of the square, I can actually find the side length of the square. So what I'm going to start with is finding the area of the triangle. And remember that a triangle's area formula for that is base times height divided by 2. The base times height in this case would be 2 times 4, and that again would be divided by 2, which means the total area for the triangle, one of the triangles, would be 4, because 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. But we have 4 triangles, so that means that we need to take our area of the one triangle that we found, which was 4, and multiply that by 4, which gives you an area of 16. Now let's look at the square. The formula for the area of a square is going to be base times height. And if I take a look at this square, it has a base of 2 and a height of 2. Or this is the same thing as saying base squared or length squared, and it would be 2 times 2. So the area of the square would be 4. So to find the total area of the square, I need to take the area we found for the triangles, which was 16, and add that to the area we found of the square, which means we have a total of 20 units squared. But we need to find the side length. So to find the side length, what we need to do is take the square root of that number, which means we would take the square root of 20. But that would give us a decimal. It's not a perfect square, so we can just leave it as it is. Okay, let's look at another example. For this one, we need to find the area of the square, and we also need to find the side length of the square. So with this one, the square is at an angle here. So the first thing that we want to do is find the area. And the way to go about this is to first draw an enclosing square around the square we're trying to look at. And we'll need to find the area of square ABCD. So what we'll actually want to do is subtract that from the area of the enclosing square, which is JKLM. So the area of that is going to be, it has a side length of 3. So we would need to find the side length is L squared, and that would be 3 squared, which would mean 9 units squared would be the area of that larger square. But we're looking for the area of the inner square. So the best way to go about that is actually to use the triangles that are on the outside. So what we can look at are the smaller triangles that we can find on the outside there. So we have a triangle up here on the top left, which you could label MAD, and then we also have ones that are on the other sides as well. So what we want to do is find the area of the 4 triangles and then subtract those from the area of the enclosed square. So we can look at triangle BKC here, and what we want to remember is that we're finding the area of a triangle, so we need to find base times height and divide that by 2. So you would have a base of 2 times a height of 1 and divide that by 2, which means that you would have 2 divided by 2, which would equal 1. But there's a total of 4 triangles in our drawing, so that means that the total area would be 4 times 1, which would equal 4. So the area of the square ABCD, we would need to take the area of the enclosing square JKLM and subtract from it the area of the 4 triangles that we found. We had an area of 9 for the enclosing square and a total area of 4 for the triangles. So this would mean 9 subtract 4, which would give us a total of 5 units square as the area of that inside square. But part B asks us to find the length of one of the sides. And this we have to remember, we can use finding the square root of a square in order to determine the side length. So if our area of the square is 5 units, the side length would be the square root of 5, which would be the square root of the area. And because this is not a perfect square, we can just leave it as the square root of 5. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great night.